My 27F husband 26M keeps giving junk food to his mom 47F who is 500-something pounds. Me and my husband got married last year after being together all through college. I love him so much. He's my companion and we ourselves have no problems within our relationship, but rather I'm struggling to deal with him and his mother's relationship. She lives with us because she won't take care of herself in order to live her own life. Having seen what she's like now for the last year, I suspect she guilt-tripped him into allowing it until he was worn down and gave in. When he asked if I'd mind her moving in with us, I at first was like lol, no way, not happening. Thought it must be a joke. This was around when we were wedding planning. Then COVID began, we had to postpone the wedding, stuff was shutting down and the woman was freaking out every day. As soon as he gave in, my husband basically presented it as we had no choice, she was coming and we may as well prepare. I didn't know what to do, so that's how she ended up living with us. Reddit friends, let me tell you, this past year has been hard on everyone, what with COVID, worrying about your loved ones and not being able to see them, lack of social life, job and income loss, anxiety about your future, blah blah blah, we all know the deal. Now imagine going through all of those things. Luckily I'm finally employed again, while al significant other having a 500+ lb adult in your small 4-room house who never does a damn thing to contribute and in fact demands that you be her 24/7, on-call, unpaid caretaker for every single trivial thing that a normal adult would do for themselves without second thought. You know what, I don't want to be writing paragraphs for ages, so I'll just bullet point some of her qualities. Constantly whining, complaining. Says she's exhausted after just walking to the kitchen. Doesn't even use toilet or shower sometimes unless we help. Smells as you'd expect. Needy, like a child, wants everything done for her, even basic things. Frequently complaining that something hurts even if she hasn't moved around all day. Has tantrums, crying, yelling. Has a very bitter attitude and is quick to get pissy at other people. I've heard her berating customer service reps over the phone when she has to call places about things like Medicaid that we can't do because it's her personal information. She's chewed out delivery drivers for something in her order being wrong. Also used to make scenes in public back when she had a more normal life a couple £100 ago. Once she had a meltdown in a department store because she didn't want to walk anymore and there weren't any chairs. Hysterical breakdowns at least once a month that put her into such a state that she requires an oxygen tank to get enough air. Several times we had to call 911 because she gave herself heart palpitations. Also needs a CPAP machine at night due to sleep apnea. Has diabetes and high blood pressure, and won't take her meds without reminding or cut back sugar. Nags husband until he does whatever she wants just to get some peace and quiet. We both have noise-canceling headphones for when we're working or otherwise just can't deal with her. Obscenely obese, mainly lives off fast food and convenience store snacks, junk food. Orders this via delivery apps herself until her SSI runs out, and then she guilts and nags my husband into buying it for her. Constantly eats throughout the day, we have to clean up after her, makes a mess and doesn't seem to notice or care. Candy wrappers, chip bags, crumbs, will eat 3 pizzas within a few hours, consumed an entire brick of American cheese in one sitting the other day. I have to make my lunch for work in the morning because otherwise she'll help herself to it in the middle of the night. Even the cat has gotten fat from eating bits of her food that fall on the floor. Just writing this out is making me too frustrated to go on. I think you get the picture. I have let him know I don't want to have kids until his mother is either at an appropriate weight or out of our house. I don't believe the first will ever happen. The second seems near impossible. Even if we followed the legal eviction procedures, she is literally physically incapable of leaving the house. She's now wider than the entrance she came in through a year ago. Let alone putting in the effort to find her own place and get a job to support herself. If she wanted to, she'd be living that life. She doesn't want to. She has the mentality of a lazy child, is happy to be taken care of and do nothing but eat and watch TV all day. I've already lost my patience with this woman and no longer do anything to enable her unless my husband really can't manage on his own, but now I'm starting to lose patience with him too. And that's affecting our relationship. He's commented that I always seem annoyed with him. Well, I am. I don't want to be. His mom's weight isn't his fault and I still love him the same, but this shit is so fucking exhausting. The main thing I really want him to stop doing is spending our money on her junk food addiction. She eats roughly a $1,000 hole in our finances every month. This is less of a problem now that I'm back to work, but after I lost my job over the summer, there were a few months that we fell behind on the bills. That 1K was really needed those months. We're caught up now, but it made me really question my husband's priorities. Then, as I mentioned, there's kids. We both want them, and right now I couldn't tell you if we'll ever get to have them because I refuse to bring a child into any living environment where his mother is a fixture. Lastly, and more important than the annoyance I feel at my husband's enabling, is that it just breaks my heart to see how she treats him. He does everything for this woman, and in return there's never a thank you. Instead, he's nagged or insulted until he complies, and then often ignored for the TV until whenever she wants something next. He tirelessly does everything she demands even while working from home, has left Zoom meetings to attend to her. I can see physically that it's running him ragged, but he says it's okay, she's my mom, I have to. I honestly think he's being abused in a way. I think he doesn't see how their relationship is hurting him. He admits he's tired and depressed, which he chalks up to COVID restrictions. We can't go on like this. I can't anyway. It's extremely stressful on top of all the other stress of this year and last. My question for anyone reading is, how can my husband and I get on the same team? I would like him to stop giving her any money, and I want us to come up together with a plan for getting her out. The problem is when I broached that recently he was adamant it'd be too much hassle. He also, like I said, is under the belief that he needs to take care of her. Any advice for how I could better get him to see the harm she's doing? Would also deeply appreciate stories from those who've dealt with a family member like my Mill. What did you do? Too long did not read. My husband's obese mother is draining the energy from both of us with her horrible attitude and behavior. He believes he has to do her bidding as her son. I'm becoming resentful and know something has to change soon for the sake of my marriage. Unfortunately, you may have to give your husband an ultimatum, it's either your Mill or you. It sounds like he's so focused on taking care of her, that he's unwilling or unable to focus on you. He may not see what it's doing to y'all's relationship until you drastically let him know that this is destroying your lives. You'll either allow it to continue happening until the threat is real and you're literally ready to leave him, or you'll give him the ultimatum to do something about it now before it gets to that point. Either way, he's not going to respond until you take drastic measures. You say your relationship with him is perfect, yet he imposed an extra person in your household after you said no to having his mother live with you guys. If my husband did this, I wouldn't qualify my relationship as perfect, since it's a complete breach of trust and a huge disrespect. This is your home. You said no, he forced a yes. That's not okay. Like at all. It's not even about her being obese and gross. I'm obese and gross, and it's fine, 'cause I live in my own fucking house. None of this is about his mother, all of it is about him prioritizing someone else than his wife. Bro, what the fuck? Okay, for real, be clear to your husband that you married him, not him and his useless 500-pound mother. This living situation isn't working for you, and unless you and him can work together on how to remove her from it, you will need to make other arrangements for yourself. Your husband needs counseling to realize why he's enabling her and to get help standing up to her. If he won't seek help, then he won't kick his mom out. You will probably end up having to give him an ultimatum, and I hate to say it, but you guys will probably end up separated. It's not a healthy living situation, and you are already at the end of your ropes. He obviously loves his mom and can't see what she is doing to him, and by the sounds of things he won't change. He obviously values his mom more than you. For your own mental health and well-being, you need to do something sooner or later, because you will grow to hate your husband and that he does not make you his priority over his overbearing, manipulative mother. Best of luck. He needs to stop feeding her. I once overheard in a doctor office while waiting, a doctor was talking to a patient and his wife. Doctor asked the lady, "Why are you feeding your husband? Why do you do this?" She said, "Well, he gets mad and yells at me." He said, "So what? He's not going to chase you, he can barely walk. He needs to help himself, so that translates to all activities. She needs to pay rent. How does she get money for food? Is she getting it from your husband? That'd be the equivalent to giving an addict money. Food is her addiction. Sadly enough, she will probably need a gastric surgery to really lose weight, but that's not why you're posting. I think it's time for ultimatums. Either his mom leaves or you do. Dude, props to you for even putting up with this shit that long. I would feel the same way as you. I'd never usually recommend an ultimatum, but for this situation, I don't see any other option. Unfortunately, you will never turn your husband against his mother. Even if you're right. All you can do is defend yourself, which means giving him an ultimatum. And before you do that, you should have a reasonable alternative to the current arrangement. If all that fails, then honestly, you should just leave him. And make sure he knows why. No, 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 no. You just got married. You are trying to start a life. And he brings his mom after you said no? He has made your living space into a bad environment. He has put your life on hold. It literally sounds like from this post that he doesn't care about you at all. Which I know that surely isn't true, but he needs to give her a deadline to get out. If you can afford it, consider getting a small apartment and just moving out. Invite him over for date nights, but carve out your own space for your sanity. You don't need to divorce, but maybe it'll make him realize you can't live like this. I think you need to try and get 1 point over to him. She is going to die very young if this continues. If you can get a 2nd point over to him, people who die young due to obesity had someone enabling them. There is no other way for them to get all that food. Sounds like an episode of My 600 Pounds Life. Might be worth watching a few episodes together so he can see what he is doing from the outside. Then remind him he is doing the exact same thing. This is calls for an ultimatum. Say to him, if you think that I will live in this environment, if you think that you will live in this environment for the rest of your life, then you are absolutely crazy. I will be living in a hotel, motel until you get the fucking resolve to kick her ass out. If by 1 or 2 weeks he still hasn't done anything to resolve the situation, that is when you put your entire marriage on the line and put that up for ultimatum for the next week. Honestly, it's not going to work until your husband grows a spine, maybe through counseling, and does something about this, because if the mill couldn't bear to walk when she was 100 pounds plus lighter, she's not going to do anything now. You can either wait until she dies, which could be soon if you are lucky, or tell your husband to grow up and fuck her off. Oh, those are called enablers, and they're the morbid reason she hitting 5 bills. They both need therapy to recognize the vicious cycle they're perpetuating off of each other and the pine box that awaits them should they not change their unhealthy codependent behaviors. Take a couple of pictures to show your next husband, grab your laptop, a duffel bag of clothes, and walk the fuck out. As others have already said, you need to draw a hard line, either his mother goes out, you go. It's really that simple. He has decided, explicitly or implicitly, to support her no matter the cost and enable her no matter what. You need to let him know that you are not on board for that and that if it continues, you are out. Be firm about it. Give him a hard deadline and mean it. He has allowed her to take over your home, your lives, and drain your finances. It simply cannot continue, so don't let it. This is your life now. You can't control what he does. Only what you do. You need to lay out to him that this will not be your lifestyle. He will choose one of you. Be prepared to accept that it may not be you. Dude, you have one life, don't waste it. You should move on. Your husband doesn't seem capable of escaping mom. Yeah, this is ultimatum territory. 95% chance he's going to choose the mom over you, but honestly that's a good thing. You don't deserve to be treated like this. The odds of her seeing a specialist, following through on a proper diet, and getting weight loss surgery is literally 2%. He's going to keep enabling her until her habits kill her. This is the one time I'd agree an ultimatum is a good idea. Also, don't be afraid to be extreme, because shit has hit the fan long ago. Being nice won't solve this. Get him to understand that this is happening. Move if you have to, or deconstruct the house to get her out. Either way, you'll have to be the driving force behind this. Get him to therapy if possible, so he can realize it's not his job to cater to that worthless bag of shit with a tag mother on her. Locking her door and giving him no key might be a step you have to take in order to prevent him to give in. The problem is, when I broached that recently, he was adamant it'd be too much hassle. He also, like I said, is under the belief that he needs to take care of her. You are really in denial about how bad this is. He is way too far gone. If I were in your shoes, I'd pack my shit and leave. Are you crazy? Why the fuck would you let his mum move in? I am shocked. Pure insanity. Your husband is a hardcore enabler. It's a mentality that's hard to break. My wife works at a hospital. Obviously, these morbidly obese people all end up in the hospital, where they go for respiratory failure, complications of diabetes, or now COVID. In general, they don't lose weight and end up in nursing homes where they end up dying. In all these cases, there is one common thread: an enabler. A person can't get that big without one. Your husband may feel he had no choice, and you may feel that now, but it simply isn't the case. You cannot live like this, and these are decisions he is making. His mother is not the weather. Mom leaves or you do, period. There's no other way. I'm really sorry you're dealing with this. It sounds like your husband and his mother have an incredibly unhealthy, toxic, enabling relationship. It will take a lot of work to undo that. Strongly suggest therapy. It's gonna take a while, but you're gonna have to take a day off and lay out a trail of Reese's Pieces like in the movie E.T. that extends all the way to another town. She will be so distracted and looking down the whole time that once the trail has ended she'll have no idea where she is and will be too lazy to do anything about it. The chocolate will be enough that she will be sustained for at least a few hours, and by then you've had enough time to change the locks in your phone number. Best of luck. Maybe he just wants to kill her by that junk food though. Man shrugging, medium skin tone. Take her phone so she can't order takeout. Lock up all the food in the house and put her on a diet. Get her some psychological help and tell your husband to stop enabling her or you're leaving him. No one in your household can live like this, and he's actively helping his mother to an early grave. And #X200B. It time for ultimatums. You can't argue with someone who is mental mess, but you can with your husband. And #X200B. If your husband needs a push, show him this. I could not read your whole post. What I understand is that Mill has a mental health issue and a physical disability that has become worse while she has been living with you. You have carer's fatigue. Obviously this situation is not good for either of you. I suggest contacting some charities or mental health services to request help. He needs to realize you won't stick around, literally no one would, and no one would blame you for bailing on that side show. She can't move, so your husband should be feeding her vegetables and chicken. If she is hungry, she will eat. She can't order food for herself off an app unless she has money. She isn't a spouse, you can literally cut her off. If she still wants to order shit, she will be forced to get a job to buy it. I mean, it's all glaringly obvious. I am sure you are frustrated beyond belief. I think you should give him the ultimatum, and if he chooses her over you, cut your losses. You want kids, don't waste time on someone who will never be able to have kids because he adopted his blob of a mother. I know you don't want to give ultimatums or leave him, but you need to think about her own health. Physical and psychological. You sound very unhappy, and I think everyone would think like that in these kind of situations. Something has to change. You really need to have a serious talk and maybe some therapy with her husband. Maybe stop giving her money? Or at least cut it in half and tell her this is all you get, if you go through it you eat what we eat. You need to be more firm with her and make it very clear if nothing happens she's out. She needs to understand it has to stop, and her husband too, or it will never end. If she is now so big that she can't exit the property, what happens when she has a major medical incident and can't be removed until they knock out a wall? She'd die in situ. Has your hubby considered this? His enabling could kill her in more ways than one. It's time to thrash this out and seek help and advice from adult services, health professionals, etc. Enough is enough, and a comprehensive plan needs drawing up to help all of you. She needs to pay rent, help with bills, and manage her own money. You shouldn't be paying a single penny to enable her overeating, no matter how much she whines and complains. If her tantrums bring on palpitations, so be it. Call emergency services, get her removed to a facility that can help her. You simply cannot carry on like this. Your Mill needs to be put into a care facility as her needs are beyond your ability to help, and the result is making a strain on both you and your husband. From the information you have provided, your Mill may not be on these shores for much longer unless she changes her ways. But that change is more than you are able to facilitate. I feel for both of you. I agree with the other comments that an ultimatum is due. Either he stops enabling his mom, cuts her off and stops enabling her eating disorder, or you walk until she is out of your house. Your whole post is basically that show my 600 pounds life. He needs to stop enabling her. Can you just provide her with healthy meals and nothing else? Your husband is enabling his mother and you're enabling your husband. Codependentception. This sounds like What's Eating Gilbert Grape. Would you still hate her so much if she wasn't what you consider to be offensively fat? Maybe you should watch What's Eating Gilbert Grape. Maybe there's a reason she is like this?